Hey guys, it's Peter in our ice cream bar. Should I have changed his clothes? He's had the same clothes on throughout all of these videos. I feel like that's true with all of my dolls though. They just sit in the same clothes always, all the time, because I'm lazy. So anyway, we are back with Mene's character videos, and he has this alpaca wig now. Isn't that lovely? It's kind of like messy, but I'm not sure how not messy I want it to be yet, so we're, jury's still out on that one. Anyway, last time we left off with Mene, where were we? Oh, he had just met the creeping thing, and he got these new abilities, right? Now he doesn't really know what these are at first, and I guess we're jumping right in, here we go. He doesn't really know what these are at first, and he kind of accidentally, not on purpose, finds that all of a sudden, he's really good at finding people with freckles and scars. He still doesn't know what those mean, and he starts approaching these people. Now, Mene has always been like a quiet person, an introverted kind of person, but he's also been leading this like nomadic lifestyle for several years now. He's been on his own, so it's not weird for him to talk to strangers. The weird part is trying to ask them about things that they probably can't see, and like, what are all of your deep personal secrets? Like, tell me now, random stranger I met on the sidewalk. So for the most part, that goes really, really terribly. Eventually, though, he finds someone who is open to talking with him, and that is because this person is part of a support group, which Mene ends up going to with this person, and this support group is for people who have suffered from supernatural afflictions or events or whatever it is. So eventually, through going to this group, he eventually learns to open up about his own experiences and talk about his kind of ongoing stuff. Through that experience, he begins to get to know the group leader a little bit more, and she tells him to go through this program, I guess I want to call it, because I don't really want to call it a school. It's not a school. It's not like, oh, let's go register for classes. I hope I get into AP English this year. It's not like that. It's more of a structured program. There's not really professors and classes. It's just you go through and you learn some things, and then you're like, yay me, I learned a thing. So Mene goes through this, and this is through the Eglin family, which if you watch some of those laugh videos, you can know a little bit about them. Through this process, Mene really starts to open up a little bit more, starts to mature emotionally a little bit more, not dramatically more, and sorry, Mene. And he realizes what he wants to do with his life is the same thing that helped him kind of get back on track, which was doing this kind of group therapy thing, and he wants to be the group leader and help people talk through the stuff that's happened to them. So that's kind of the direction that he goes in. While he's in this program, he kind of gets a new mother figure, mentor kind of person in that original group leader that he had. Remember, he had this like weird strained relationship with his parents, so it's like this whole thing for him. It's like, oh my god, emotions. But he learns that probably the things that he's seen, the freckles, the scars, and sometimes when he's seen these kind of ghostly, spooky figures, he's learning that is kind of remnants, residue from supernatural activity or events. So that's kind of his working theory. That's what he's come up with, what he's worked with his mentor to figure out. And so a part of him feels kind of redeemed in this, because then he's realizing the freckles and scars that were appearing on his family, his classmates, his friends, he didn't have friends, but still, were probably remnants from he himself, since he had these abilities. And so he probably wasn't hurting them. Of course, there's really no way to know for sure, as far as he knows. Regardless of that, he feels like when he completes this program, when he graduates, but like, you don't get anything because they don't want a paper trail. When he finishes this program, he decides to, instead of going back and trying to communicate with his family, with his brother, trying to like atone for what he feels were very horrible things that he did. And it is pretty horrible to just leave your loved ones and not say where you're going or if you're alive or dead or anything at all. Instead of reconciling with that whole issue, he decides to just continue on with his life and kind of has this rebirth, phoenix rising out of the ashes thing a little bit, right? Hey, don't wander out of frame there, buddy. What are you doing with your hands, by the way? Sometimes I look at my dolls and I'm like, what are you doing? So what he does is kind of continue his slightly nomadic lifestyle. He's traveling a lot. He has different groups and different locations that he's traveling to every now and then, and that suits him. He is pleased to do that. He feels like he's helping people instead of hurting people, and he's not having to see anyone's freckles and scars grow larger because he's constantly around them, so he feels better about that. Even though he knows it's probably not a negative thing, he still feels better to not see that growth. Of course, this changes. Now we have an intersection. I only have one hand. Oh, we have an intersection with Daichi's story. So, of course, Daichi and Eri go to live in the Anodyne house, and Eri is like a super creepy guy, and the Eglins are like, wow, no, you have to leave now. Please go forever. Of course, they can't leave that house without anyone of their employ there. They decide to send Mene there as kind of a little promotion, because here's the thing. When he's working with people in these kind of therapy groups, it's all people who have already gone through the worst of their supernatural affliction. It's people already recovering, versus the Anodyne houses, those are people with ongoing issues. So it's a whole new challenge for him, especially because he likes to be moving around all the time. He doesn't really like staying in one place all the time. It's not his favorite. So it's a different thing, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna put you here, you're doing a really good job with your work, we're gonna put you here and see how you handle it, and in a couple of years, if it doesn't work out, you can take a demotion, go back to doing what you were enjoying doing anyway. So everybody wins, kind of, unless you hate your job, then you will not win. So Mene goes to live in the Anodyne house. Eri teaches him how to make Daichi's medicine, and then scoots out. For a while, the Anodyne house is okay. I mean, it's like every other apartment building in a lot of respects. People will move there and live there for a year or two and then leave, you know, because life is always in transition. So even though Mene isn't moving around as much as he'd like, he's not the constant presence that kind of stresses him out, because other people are moving a lot. And then, of course, there is an Anodyne there, so his own ability is very limited. Even though Mene is getting to the point where his surges are about to start slowing down and ending, he still does have them, and he realizes that it's a good opportunity for him to not just help the people in that building, because he does decide to organize little groups that he meets with, which is not something that has to happen in the Anodyne houses, just his own interests, pursuing his own interests. But it also gives him a chance to kind of study what his own abilities are, being able to see how his abilities affect the other people there. So it's a good opportunity for him, but he doesn't exactly love it. Especially because a couple years after he moves there, his brother Casper finds him. It's intersection of stories number 2. Haha, number 2. Now, if you watched Casper's character videos, you know that Casper thought Mene would be this person who had all the answers in the world, but of course their reunion ends up being a little bit lackluster. Basically, Mene loves his brother and everything, but that is the life that he left behind, and he still kind of has these emotions that he wasn't wanted by his family, blah blah blah. So when Casper finds him, Casper is not good at displaying his emotions that well, so he's happy and he's relieved and everything, but he can't really express that, and he's kind of just like, hey, I found you. And Mene's like, why were you looking for me? And Casper's like, oh. So it doesn't go great. It just didn't go great. But eventually they begin to reconcile, they begin to understand each other after living in the same building for a few years, so that's kind of how that goes down, and I think that's where I'm going to cut all that off, because yes, I am tired of talking about you, Mene. Oh, look at his hair. It's so poofy. It's so poofy and it's so soft and silky. And like, it looks like maybe it's kind of oily, or maybe it's also somehow oily and also dry. Anyway, I am going to stop recording now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to all of you soon. Bye!